don't chase, I attract. Money loves me. Oh,
Hello. Say it again. Say it again.
I don't chase, I attract. Mm, 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 mm.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. I'm Peaceful Nick the Medium, joined by the wonderful and amazing Aunt Jen. How's it going, Miss I Don't Chase, I Attract? Tell me about it.
It's going good. I was doing my little dance and singing this morning when you got on, and I swore you could hear it, but I didn't know that you couldn't. So there I was, just dancing and singing by myself.
I saw her dancing and I'm like, all right, that's Jen. She's just having a good old time. And she goes, oh, you can't hear the music? I'm like, no, there's music.
It's I don't.
These computers, it's weird what the microphone will and won't pick
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
Very weird.
yeah. And I'm not as computer savvy, so I don't always understand. But I love listening to some powerful songs in the morning to kind of get me going. And one of them I really like is "I Don't Chase, I Attract."
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the truth.
Yes. Good morning, Lucille. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning.
Yeah, Lucille said would have loved to seen that dancing action, Aunt Jen. So you want to give an extra little bit. She was getting into it too, and I'm like, here we go. That's Jen. So good morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about how chaos reveals the truth.
If you allow it.
If you allow it, and dealing with society's upheaval compassionately, because that's what we need. We need to know that everything around us is so crazy, but we don't have to be crazy. And how it's going to reveal and is revealing all of the things that we need to fix. Will we fix it all? Probably not. But we will fix some things. And that's all we can hope for. Like as a parent, if a parent learns something new, or a dog mom or a cat mom, if you learn something new about taking care of or loving your pet or your child, you try to implement that. Is it always perfect? It's not. And we just always continue to learn.
Because you put the effort out there to always be seeking to be better, do better, and learn. So that at least that when you just said that resonated with me, because that's the kind of dog mom I was. I was always researching and looking and finding ways that I could make Moksha's life better and do things that, other people thought I was a little cray-cray, but that's okay, Kay.
That's okay, Kay. I love it. We're learning. Holly, good morning. Kelsey, hello. And Vivian said, yes, I understand. I don't chase, I attract logic. Every single job I had came to me since I was 16. What's meant to be yours will always come to you without having to chase. Yes.
Yes. If it's not yours, you won't miss it. It won't miss you. Like if you're like, that was supposed to be, no. What's meant to be for you, it will not miss you.
Right. And I have a loved one who has been chasing a certain job for probably 5 years. And this person will get interviews and then they turn them down repeatedly. And I'm like, they're shutting the door. That's not meant for you. Like, stop applying at that place. You've been applying repeatedly and they keep saying no. Not that this person isn't qualified. I keep telling them they're overqualified, and that's why they don't want to hire you, because they don't want to have to pay you what you're worth, which is very common in the middle 50s age. People don't want to pay the people with all the experience. So yeah, not chasing and attracting is good. It's like the pause is the shift, right? When you're trying to force something to happen, step back, take some deep breaths, live your life, and do something else, distract yourself, and then everything shifts. It's amazing how that happens.
Well, and also if you think about it too, like when you're trying to force something or when you're hanging on to something too tight, it's exhausting. Like
That's why that song is Hold On Loosely.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah, it is. It takes a lot of energy.
Yes.
Yeah. So to get to today's subject, I want you guys in the audience on the live stream or the replay, put in the comments or the chat, what is it about this chaotic moment in society that you have fears about?
Mm.
What do you think may or may not happen? What are your hopes? Get comment on what you're feeling about this time right now, because it's very disconcerting to a lot of people. A lot of us are like, oh my God, now what? And so my opinion is it's kind of coming to a peak. There's a tipping point with everything. And there's only so much any system can sustain.
Mm.
It's the same thing in biology, right? We have ecosystems and biomes, and they can only sustain so much change. Hi, Missy Birdie Mom. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see you here. There's only so much any system can sustain, and that's what's happening now. We're reaching that point. Like, okay, we've had enough. This is enough chaos. It's time to flip the switch.
Mm.
How do you feel about that, Jen?
Well, for me personally, it always starts with the chaos within myself. Like I have to get clear on my own chaos to be able to find my truth. And then I feel like a lot of times I can deal with the chaos that is out of my control, because the only chaos that I'm really can control is my own. And so I really do my due diligence to kind of get that clarity and that truth within myself, because there's so much noise going on outside, whether it be just the regular noise or even your own friends and family making noise at you. And so I really think that, it really starts with ourselves, like not to, disengage from what's going on in the world, because that is a part of who I am. Yet, if I don't control my own chaos and I don't find my own truth within my chaos, then I'm distracting myself by putting all of that energy and all of that control into something else that is out of my control.
Right. Exactly. And feeling out of control is another layer to all of this.
Yes.
And so nobody feels safe when they feel out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we look to leaders, politicians, famous people, singers, actors. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but we do look to others to make us feel safe. That's why when we have a leader of any kind, whether it's a politician, an actor, a singer, a community leader, teacher, whatever it is, or therapist, we look to them for stability, because we often feel so out of control. And so when the leaders are out of control, we feel like we're just falling into the abyss. And that's scary, especially because I'm going to say 98% of people came from some type of trauma and chaos. And so they don't want to feel unsafe.
Mm-mm.
And
no, you're already feeling unsafe. So you're looking for something to provide some type of safety for you, because you've just been in a space where it's always felt unsafe in the nervous system, in your thought processing, in whatever that looks like. So, I mean, I think that it comes down to like, what's the one thing that you're trying to achieve? What are you trying to seek? And for me, I think that with the whole, everything that like is going on, like the biggest picture for me is peace. So like I'm trying to spread peace, hope for peace, pray for peace. Like it's all about peace. And so that is my focus. And so I will do what I can in the tools and my abilities that I can add peace to the world and what's going on. And then I firmly live by and remind myself, like, I want to be the change that I want to see in the world, which again goes back to myself of like, okay, where is there non-peace within myself? What is the peace that's going on that I can be able to have a ripple effect on the rest of the world that's going around out there?
Right. And that's I was talking to a client yesterday about healing in a mediumship and meditation and self-love journeys. We we are trying to heal ourselves and then help others, lead others to their healing journey in some way. Not everybody is going to go full throttle. Some people will just heal a little bit. But every time someone heals a little part of themselves, that ripple effect goes out into the world. Mm-hmm. And so when we step back, as Vivian said, not watching the news, when we step back from the chaos and look inside and heal here, that even if you're not verbalizing it, the people around you feel the change. And then either they come towards you or they run away, right? That happens. A lot of times when we're healing, the people run away. Good morning, Debbie. And so it's important to know, even if you're not putting yourself out there on a social media platform or writing articles in the newspaper or whatever, healing yourself helps others just by putting that energy out there.
Yes. Yes. I firmly believe that. I think just because I feel like, it's happened over time, but I feel like a lot of times, whether it be influence of others or even just my own self of being like, what are you doing? There's so much going on. And I just keep coming back to like, listen, I'm trying to be the change that I want to see in the world. Right. Like, that's literally like whereas to a lot of people that might seem like a cop out, that might seem like and it's like, okay, you're entitled to your opinion. And just like I'm entitled to mine. And I firmly believe that by cleaning up myself and clearing up myself, it makes my energy that I put out there cleaner and clearer. And so I do believe that, like, that is doing something. I mean, I might not be going and protesting or doing this a form. Everyone has their own version of what that does. Like, I mean, I attend like energy peace things that we're sending out peace. And like, I mean, so it's like on grids and like, so, I mean, I'm doing my piece that feels authentic to me and is living in my truth while I'm also trying to be there and support the world with what is going on. And so I just keep coming back to what do I need to clean up for myself? What do I need to be doing for myself so that in turn that can go ahead and have a ripple effect? At least that's what I've thought.
And the other side of that are the people judging, like you mentioned, well, you're not doing it the right way. Not everybody can do it the way you think is the right way. And maybe your way isn't the right way. So shifting perspective on our judgments is really important, because I've heard people say to me all my lives, you should be out there in the streets protesting. Well, I can't. I have physical problems that I need certain things, and I can't just be standing outside all day, So don't judge me for the fact that I'm not marching in the streets. Mm-hmm. I am doing my part as much as I possibly can, right? And so maybe you should settle down, and maybe those protests, maybe your part isn't good enough, right? Like, how would you feel if I judged you and said, oh, you're just wasting your time? Mm-hmm. So we have to think, stop judging first of all, just stop judging people. Right. And we all do it. We've talked about this before endlessly. Hi, Gina. And definitely try to understand that everyone has their own way to cope and deal with things. And everyone has their form of protest. And sometimes it's peaceful and quiet, and it's not loud and shouting from the rooftops. It doesn't have to be. Because as Eckhart Tolle says, and I believe this, and I think this is what has caused us to be in the situation we're in now. What you resist persists. Yep. Now, I know we all learned from Star Wars, the first 3 movies from the 70s and 80s, the resistance, right? We got to be part of the resistance. Well, that's great for a movie, but in actuality, the more you push against something, it's like a dog. If you've had Sweet Moksha, anyone who's ever had a dog knows if a dog gets outside and they're not supposed to go out there and they run away, if you chase them, what happens? They run even faster. Never chase a dog. You're not going to catch them, right? If you move away from the dog's going to be like, where's she going? And going to chase you. So the more you push against something, the more you chase something, you try to force something like we talked about at the beginning, the worse the situation's going to be. So the more we're like, we're the resistance. And I get it. And I understand why people say that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying, think about the bigger picture. Look what has happened because of all the resistance. It's made the situation 10 million times worse. But it has revealed a lot of truths. And this is where the shift will happen. It has caused a mass awakening in the spiritual community, a mass awakening with people who have not ever been spiritual. My major part of my awakening started in 2014 and was really amped up in 2019. So, put the dates together and think, oh, wow, the gold elevator happened in 2015. That's crazy. I'm trying not to say certain things. You know what I mean?
I would say about just one comment about the judging thing and other people is, again, I'm always going to bring it back to ourselves. And so it's like, if you find yourself judging people a lot, I would question how much you're judging yourself. And so we have to start with ourselves. We have to start noticing if we're judging ourselves and have some compassion and some kindness towards ourselves. And then in turn, that will ripple out to somebody else. So notice where you're judging yourself as you're out there judging so many others.
Yes. And it's very apparent. We all know people who are judgers and judge constantly. We all judge. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying Jen and I aren't judgers, but we are trying to notice it and become aware of it more. So we become less judgmental, right? It's a journey. And we also know people who are extreme judgers, who every word out of their mouth is a judgment. And that makes us think, they are judging themselves so harshly. They're projecting all of their insecurities on other people. We've all done it. We've talked about it here before. But I think we could all take some tips and tricks from Aunt Jen's journey of looking inside ourselves and really sitting with who we are. And it's hard. And you see the face you just made?
Because it is hard. And I think that a lot of people think that it's not, like, that it's just like, and it is. It's very, very hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done and still continue. And yet it's kind of like the alternative is just not an option. Like I know where I've come from, and the prison of past conditioning and the prison of my own personal self is just not what it's not what I am looking for. And so the hard work is worth it. I mean, you look at it in any context, whatever that is with reference to what you find. So maybe you're thinking about your life of becoming a nurse and how hard that was and the journey. It's like, yes, same kind of concept. It's a journey within yourself. So it's like everything that is really worth having is hard work. It really is true. Yeah. That saying of and having consistency and having due diligence and having, there's a lot of things that we have in this world and people have accomplished or we've done whatever. And that's my number one for me. That's the one that has been my shining, no matter what's happened, no matter who's come into my life, no matter what has gone on. That is the one thing that I have continuously worked on, strived for on a regular basis for decades. And to some, it has been at times that maybe it's too much. You're working on yourself too much. And there is something to be said about that to some degree. And looking back on it now, it's like, yeah, no, that was all so that I could get where I am today. And I still have more to keep going as I'm building that muscle still. Yet it's what I chose to do as work. It's what I chose is because, again, like I said, I'm living within myself. I was a prisoner in myself. I was the one that would allow people to have access to me that really didn't deserve it. Like that, you know, just because I wanted to be loved and because I wanted, not even wanted to be loved. I love to love. I love to love. I don't like spreading hate. And like, I really don't. Like, that is not, I really like to have things be nice. And like, of course, there's the opposite of that. And I'm not in denial yet. Like, that's not what I like to spread or put my intentions out there. And so, you know, it's a process of learning and also learning your own internal voice and your own internal direction when a lot of people will tell you that's not the right way to do it. And I can say without having to go into details, like, I mean, I lost almost everybody, like at certain times for a period of time. I pretty much lost almost everybody because people didn't agree with some of the choices that I was making. And now in hindsight, I think they might look at things a little differently. Not to be like, oh, whatever, but be like, okay, you made the right choice for you. Like that might have been like, maybe you did, maybe you were onto something. Maybe your instincts were kind of correct for you. Whereas, you know, it didn't really matter validation. It was like a place of really learning that it's like, me, what do you want for you? How much, what is the real right choice for Jennifer, not for what everybody else wants Jennifer to do.
Right. And I want to get to some of these comments, but I want to ask everyone to say, have you had in your life times where you allowed people access to you that did not deserve it? Because that really hit me when you said that, because I know we both have. We've seen each other through all those stories.
Like a full-on access. You know, everyone has access.
Right. Sure. And that's one of the things in mediumship and self-healing. You have to learn boundaries with people. Like you can't just let everybody in there all the time. It's not figuratively and literally, you know.
Yeah.
Lily said, what would you give? And I think this is for you, Aunt Jen. I think you'll be great for this. What would you give on the advice aspect of discernment and judgment? I've been taught to judge no one and to love everyone equally, yet now I've encountered people who take advantage. Great question.
I've been on that journey as well. And so it is a practice. That's what it literally gets to turn into a practice of whatever those questions may be for yourself. So you're like trying to find, discernment has been something that I've been working on as a muscle. And I've been very proud of how I've gotten to where I've gotten. And it's because I've been put in positions where discernment was needed. And I had to get out of my own way to kind of tap in and find out what that looks like. Yet it kind of has to happen over and over again. So if you're in a place where you're always not judging, right? So judging can be like, you know, maybe taking the word judgment out and bringing in something else that might feel more equivalent for you, of like letting people, because I think what you're trying to say is like, whether or not you should let people into your life. Is that if that's what you're trying to say, something along those lines, then it's like you get to kind of be with yourself about using kind of some of the emotions too. Like if that is what you're saying, like if you're going to use, let's use A. So A, I'm questioning whether or not I want to be in relationship with this person, but I've told not to be judgmental of them. And I also need to find discernment. Okay. So one of the first things you can do is like, how do you feel about yourself when you're around this person? And that is kind of like learning to listen to the body. And if you're not even sure how that is, like I get that one too. Like we're not always like trying to get into our body, especially with so many different things that go on. Like that is definitely something that is a work in progress. So asking yourself some questions. How do I feel when I'm around this person? How does this person make me feel when they're interacting with me? Like, what is kind of going on with regards to, it is about feelings. What is being offered as far as an exchange goes? And it's not always like, well, this person's doing this and I'm not doing, like, we're not collecting data per se of like how much one person's doing versus another person. But if it feels like you're always pouring into them, then that is something that, needs to be looked at. And like a great example is I've had someone even more recently in my life that's been in my life, much love, lots of love. Yet when I finally was able to stop and really look at the situation, this person is a beautiful soul, and there will always be love. Yet they're always pouring darkness into me, meaning that's all they know is to be in the dark and the negative and that's it. That's all they know. And so they are relying on me to pour my light into them, which I've done for my life. And now I'm starting to realize, not in a negative way, but you don't really deserve access to me anymore, because you're only pouring dark. You're never bringing any light. You're not even acknowledging my light in so many ways. You're literally just like a vampire, and you're sucking it because I provide it so freely. Right. So it's really important to get kind of clear about that, and keeping yourself and reminding yourself that this is a process. Be gentle as you're doing this process. You could want to, again, that's why I love pattern interrupts. You might still be in the same program that you're in, doing the same things for quite a while, but at least in your mind, you're being like, I wonder, how do I feel when I'm around this person? Great. Like you're changing up the story for a moment, and we can't expect everything to just boom, change like that. Like that, it just doesn't. It's kind of like work. It's kind of like that person that loses weight. I always think about that one too, because they're losing weight. Oh my gosh, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh wow, what happened? And it's like, that is kind of how it works. It's just you've got to just kind of keep going for yourself. And I would say to ask yourself the question is, how do I feel when I'm around this person? How do I feel after I've left, when I'm not with them anymore? Do I feel depleted? Do I feel like I got filled up? Do you feel like it's an even exchange? Is the relationship a open communication where you can express how you're feeling and what you're not getting, and they're willing to see that? Or are you always having to over explain yourself and they're never understanding anything that you're saying?
Committed to misunderstanding you.
Yes. And committed to also defending themselves. So they're never actually really listening to you.
Right. Listening to answer or respond.
Not listening
to hear.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
so I think the main thing I just want to say again, it's a process. It's not just because your mind might want to do something, but your body keeps the score. So your body and all of the different thoughts that we're repeating and different things, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to catch up. So I'm not sure if that was your question or if I answered it.
Well, she said 100%, Aunt Jen. That was a couple minutes ago. And then Vivian said, for me, I can love someone while staying away from them, especially when I know they are taking advantage of me. And Lily agreed with that. And then also said before that, or pouring chaos. And that's a big one. We all know people who, when we're around them, they feel very chaotic, and you feel very chaotic. And it's very uncomfortable for people who are trying to find peace in their life, because that chaos triggers the old trauma from before. And so people who are like everyone watching here, if you're still listening to this, you are on a healing journey. No one who's not on a healing journey is listening to this, right? Yeah. Unless they're just listening to put mean comments on, which if you've got that kind of time, God bless you, right? So if you're listening to this right now, you are on a healing journey, and you are where you are on your healing journey. Everybody's somewhere on the line, right? And when you are around people who are chaotic, it brings you right back.
Yes.
And it makes you feel your cortisol level goes through the roof. You don't feel good physically. Like for me, I recently was in a very chaotic environment, and it took me almost a week to recover. And it was maybe 24 hours, right? And it took me a week to recover from it. And I still am not really recovered from it. It's been almost 2 weeks. But your cortisol level goes up, all of your antennae go up, and you're like, oh my God, what's happening next? What's going to happen? This seems like this place is just going to explode with energy of insanity. And we have to, sometimes we're forced into situations like that because of obligations. You know, we all have those things where like, oh, I have to go do that. And I really don't want to, but you know, you have to go. Now, I limit that as much as humanly possible. But sometimes you get drawn into something you weren't prepared for, and it has lasting effects. So if you can limit any chaotic environment or person as much as possible, or the news, like you know, all the stuff going on out there, it's the same in our own life. That's why all that stuff out there is triggering so many people, because we get triggered by all the stuff that has happened to us in our life. And that's a magnified version of it.
Yes. I'm so glad that you said that, because some people are not being triggered by certain things. It's like, that's not something that, it's not that doesn't mean that someone doesn't care. It's just not living within themselves. Right. And the one comment I did want to make too is like, I can't remember if it's 3 or 5 people, but you know, with regards to like dealing with a certain person or whoever they are, like the 5 people that they associate with the most is a reflection of them. So if you're also thinking about someone who's like, let's say you're talking about the person and you're like, okay, well, they create a lot of chaos. It's like, think about the people that they most spend their time with, and if they are the same as that, that's a cycle where you're like, okay, like this is a losing battle in some ways with regards to that, because they're not surrounding themselves with anyone else except that same energy of either looking at the negativity, being dark, talking smack about people, like not making change, not making, you know, not doing anything like that, not being able to like support somebody who is in their light side. Like it just is, it's uncomfortable for them because they don't even know how to do that. So that can help too, as well, because if you think about it, if that one person and you're like, no, but they just seem so different. Well, maybe if you think about their 5 people and it's like, well, actually, they really only have a couple people in their life. They really have like, there is a couple people in their life that really are. Well, then maybe that is a sign that they actually are someone who is looking towards evolving, looking towards opening up to a different perspective. And those are things kind of to look at when you're evaluating who you are giving your access to. That's my new one, because it's like, I didn't realize how much access I was just giving to people freely, because it was like, oh yeah, that's okay. And it's like, because I just want to spread love. And it's like, yeah, but how do I feel after I hang out with them? Like, right? Like that was never, it was always like trying to be of service in a lot of ways. And yet like service can only go so far, because we have to also remember that we have to make sure that we're servicing our own soul and our own self. And you can absolutely love somebody tremendously and want only the best for them. But you realize like access to me and being in regular communication is not in my best interest. And I love you, and may you have a great place to be. That's honestly how I have always tried to do things. And even just thinking about some relationships or people that maybe I overloved, and I've looked at it now and been like, I don't regret how I loved people, because that's me. That is a representation of who I am as a person. How they receive it and how they show up is who they are. So that's on them, not on me. Like, but whereas before I would really be very hard on myself for being like, oh, I was so stupid. I loved them and they did this and they did that. And it's like, yeah, no, like I love the way I love, because that is who I am, and nothing will stop me from ever doing that. It won't. Like, you won't have access to be able to have that to that same level, but you're not going to take that away from me, because I believe love is always the answer. Period.
I agree. And Missy Birdie Mom said, it's hard to get rid of the vampires when they are extended family members. I feel great when I am not around them. And I want to talk about something.
Your mirrors.
You were talking about, Jen. The people you surround yourself with, you have to say, okay, so when I'm around Betty, let's say, Betty is so negative and I feel like crap while and after I'm spending time with her. So who does Betty hang around with? Oh, Betty hangs around with these 5 people who all are just sitting around gossiping and talking about other people all day. are they ever holding themselves accountable? So for me, and I learned this most recently from Aunt Jen, I don't want to have relationships with people who cannot take accountability for their actions. Now, I've had to learn how to take accountability for my actions. I have not always been, oh, I made a mistake. Like, it's hard to admit that. But as you grow and you're like, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, that's kind of like a knife in the heart to admit when you hurt somebody. That's why people avoid taking accountability. Well, one, they could be a narcissist or a sociopath, or they could be like, I don't want to feel that pain because I hurt
Ding,
somebody.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. So you're either a narcissist or a sociopath, or you're afraid to feel the pain that you cause someone else. And I can tell you, as a mother of humans, I have done things. I mean, my kids are almost 29 and 27 now. I've made mistakes as a parent, and I've done things that hurt my kids. Now, not like anything so crazy like my parents did to me, but I still made mistakes as a parent, and it's really hard to take accountability and look at myself and say, I really hurt my child in that way. And then to apologize to them, because adult children and children who aren't adults, but adult children, especially in their 20s and 30s, want to hear that their parent takes accountability for the things that hurt them. Because when you don't get that, you always have that little resentment or that feeling or that weird vibe when you're around the parent, right? And we all want to be around people who can be accountable for their actions. And so I am not allowing people to have access to me who don't take accountability.
Yep.
Now, you're always in situations where you're forced to be around certain people for certain different reasons. What you can do is remove your interactions with them as much as possible until they either fade away from you completely, or they start to realize, oh, this relationship is worth saving. And I may need to look in here to figure out what my part in this relationship is, regardless of whether it's a parent, child, best friends, siblings, romantic partner. Doesn't matter what the relationship is. You have to be able to love yourself enough to know that that person doesn't have access to me if they are not accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
That's super important.
And protecting ourselves. We talked about that. That was whenever, last week or the week before, about, putting mirrors on yourself. You can also, like, I mean, I always have something to say. Anyone that knows me knows Jennifer always has something to say. Yet as my time has gone on, I've become a lot quieter because I'm tired of talking and saying things that nobody's listening to, or it's just kind of like my way of being able to take my power back to some degree. And so they're just not getting a reaction out of what I might be saying or what I'm not saying. Let's see. I'm writing notes to myself on my giant notepad. There are great answers to something I've been going through recently, and like unusual spirit is always on time with the answer. Very true. Very true. It's really good to write yourself notes and see what the answers may be coming through. But that can be something too, because you do have to be able to interact with people. Can't really do that. So that's also where I do my little pop and roll. So I pop in and then I roll on out. I'll show up for my obligatory event if that is the case. And then, being able to protect yourself with your peace. And maybe that peace is actually just not interacting as much, not having as much to say, not having to explain yourself. I definitely have always been an over explainer. And now I've more realized of like, yeah, think about usually who I have to explain myself to are the people that are never listening. So I'm finally realizing of like, oh, wait a second. Like people that are listening, like I don't have to explain myself. And then after I'm done, I'm like, I explain myself in so many different ways, and they actually brought out a part in me that I don't really like. They now bring out the best. That's another, like, that was my way of saying that. I was like, how do you feel about yourself when you're with them? But also, like, what are they bringing out within you? Are they bringing out the goodness? Or are they bringing out this version of yourself that you have to defend yourself and always over explain yourself and always, and then you're just drained every time you've left because you literally like just were in the wrong situation, yet it's a process. Again, it's a process.
I want to get to some more of these comments, but I want to give an example of something that I had to set a firm boundary for, and the people around me were very upset about it. And guess who kept her boundary? Me.
Very upset.
And guess who was right? Me. So
likes to be right. I love her, but she loves to be right. That girl is so.
The people in my life should know by now I'm psychic. I can predict what's happening 100 steps ahead. Listen to me, for crying out loud. So I was in a situation where I had to go somewhere, and these other people wanted us all to ride together, and I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am not getting stuck in this place with these other people if I'm not comfortable, because they have habits in their life that I am not comfortable with. I want to have access to my car for me so I can leave when I want, because I want to pop and roll.
Yes.
So the people were like, meh, and I'm like, no, I'm going in my car, period. So we get to the place, and everything I said, it's going to be this, and this. Everything I said was accurate, and I didn't have any way to know. I just knew. And so I had my own car, so I had to go do something else. And I was proud of myself for sticking to that boundary, because in the past I would cave and I would be like, okay. And I would be miserable. And I would be so triggered and so anxious. And I still was a little triggered, but not nearly as much as if you don't have control over your own body. Now, as someone who has been a victim of SA, not having control of my own body makes my brain explode in a way that I can't even explain it. And when I don't feel like I have a choice or I'm trapped, oh my God, I hate elevators. I'll get in an elevator, but I hate them. But like, if I'm trapped in a scenario with people and I don't have a way out, my anxiety is extreme. And so I was very proud of myself for sticking to that boundary.
Good job.
And we all need to do that more. So what if people get pissed off at you? I don't care. I have to protect me.
People are going to get upset when you're not on their agenda.
Right.
When they have a different reason for doing something and they see things, they're going to get upset. And that's when I think the rubber hits, isn't that expression like the rubber hits the road?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. That's when the rubber hits the road. Like, are you really going to keep your boundary? And you did, like, of being like, and that, I mean, that's for me, like, that's why I'm a pop and roll. Like, oh, no. I will go on my own and I will leave on my own, because I need to be able to be in control to take care of me. Because other people, when I'd be with other people, they weren't concerned. They were having a great old time wherever they were at. And it's like, maybe I'm done. And then I'm looked as the bad person.
Right.
Because I don't want to be here in this situation where I'm sorry, they're all just sitting around at, like, it just is like, it's really like fascinating. Or people like to stay for hours and hours and hours. It's like, I don't need to. I like to go for a small little bit of time and then go, because it actually is better for everybody, including myself. Like, you don't want me to be there that long. Like, trust me, like, just set me free. Let me go. You're going to get the best out of me. And then, like, that is where I'm going to go ahead and take care of myself, and I'm going to leave now. Thank you.
And I think my husband is finally getting it, that if you just listen to my needs before we go somewhere, I need to be fed. I need to have had plenty of sleep. and then I'll be fine. But
Mhm.
if you don't, if you like, well, wait, we got to wait 2 more hours. No, then I'm going to be a miserable bee and
Yeah.
it's going to be bad for everybody. Wisdom Seeker said, while I'm getting better at the boundary thing, I still struggle with those I love always draining. I am improving, mind you. It's a daily effort. And
It is.
this is why Aunt Jen and I always say it's a healing journey.
Mhm.
It's a journey. You are where you are, and that's wonderful.
Especially with the ones that we really love, it becomes, I mean, I know for myself, there's some that are like, it's harder to be able to be that because maybe they're younger, right? And so it's like, well, they don't know better. So it's like, yeah, but still, how do I feel when I'm hanging around them all the time? Like, it just feels like you don't really care whether I'm there or not. So like, why am I here? Like, that's okay. Of like learning to like how to move with that stuff. And it's a process. So like the way I may have looked at an individual, 2 years ago versus how I handle things now, like I'm grateful for it and I'm grateful for the journey that it took to get there.
Right.
Whereas it might be like, oh my gosh, it took me so long. Look, oh, I don't play that game with myself. Like
Mhm.
because there's too much good stuff in between that's happening. And then all of a sudden you get to the new place and I'm like, wait, I don't even remember the old version of me. Wait, what's going on?
Right. Oh my God.
Who is that? Like, wait, what? You used to do what? And it's like,
Yes.
yeah, no. Like, you can also start over anytime that you want to.
Yes.
So I've decided to start over. And so everyone's on an equal playing field. And so we'll see who shows up.
Right.
To what
And
level they show up versus how level like meeting me where I'm at, or are you just taking?
right, exactly. Gina said, gossip makes me uncomfortable. I was on a group chat and two people were saying negative things about someone. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know how. So there's a couple of different ways you can just leave the conversation on your phone. Just leave. Now that's kind of like they'll be like, she's so bitchy or whatever. Or you can say, I don't want to engage in those kinds of conversations. Or you can ask ChatGPT to or some AI bot to write something kind and compassionate that will tell your friends you're uncomfortable without being rude, right? Like, I love you guys. I just don't want to engage in that kind of conversation, right? Something like that. It's helpful for that. Um, because you want to still be friends with your friends,
Well,
but you
yes.
also want to grow and change. And you may at some point realize I don't want to be a part of that group chat if they continue that behavior, obviously. I'm a woman and I have girlfriends, and I can tell you throughout my life I have gossiped. And it is hard not to. However, over the years that has shifted and changed, right? Very much. You grow and you're like, I'm not comfortable with that anymore.
And
So it's up to you how you want to handle it. And are these people super important to you? Or are they just like acquaintances? If they're just acquaintances, I'd be like, leave the conversation. Bye. I wouldn't even care. But I'm a Sag, so I'm a cutter. Bye.
I,
I mean, cutting people.
I think
See you later.
I think the other thing that's very true facts too is if we're talking about a friend group of some kind, if they're gossiping about other people, they're gossiping about you when you're
Yes.
not around. And so that's definitely something. And yeah, I've definitely left group chats that's really caused a lot of friction.
Yeah. I remember that. I was
Oh
thinking about
boy.
that.
Oh boy, did that cause, right? But it was like I was choosing myself. They want to make it into something that was something else, but it's like all you ever talked about on there was complete negative everything. So I might as well just remove myself because all you do is really talk about me negatively anyway. Like I don't even know why I'm in your chat. Like you
Right.
don't even really like my energy is not equivalent here. We're not copacetic. We're not in
Right.
the same kind of energy field. And so it's not saying that I don't ever talk about people like, but I think I talk about people very differently. Like it's more along the lines of like a learning thing. I don't have any time or energy to talk about anybody in a negative way. Cause if there's this coming negativity about you 9 times out of 10 right now in my life, at least for the past like 4 or 5 years, like you're not in my life. Like that's
Right.
just
Right.
very easy. Or people, another one that can kind of be a good, like an interesting one, which has been an interesting one for me, is when you stop and you realize, even if they've been people that have been in your life for a very long time, they don't ever give you anything. You're always the one that makes the effort. And so those relationships, again, no one had to even do anything. No one was mean to me. No one did anything at all. Like, but I realized that I was the one that was carrying this for whatever reason, this relationship, for the longevity of it, the like, I'm not sure what it was. Those people left as well recently, because it's just like, I'm carrying all of this, and you don't ever just reach out to me on your own just to be like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? Where it's like, I'm always remembering. It was something that people used to comment about me, like, that's one of your qualities. Well, yeah, it's nice to be reciprocated. Like, so
yeah.
Once you start to realize that, and then it's like, oh, you were really never in this for me. You were in it for what you got from me. And so nothing but love for you, especially when there doesn't have to always be this, someone doesn't have to do something negative or something really bad or wrong or hurt you to like have you decide that you don't want to engage with them in that level anymore. You could literally just be like, huh, yeah, I think I'm the only one that's really here in this conversation when I look back at anything. And so I'm just going to leave. And the truth is, you're probably not going to notice that I'm gone.
Right.
So we're all going to be okay. And then if you do want to come back around, then we can have a discussion possibly. But honestly, like, you probably won't hit me up, because you really didn't anyway. You just really enjoyed what I offered for you.
Right. The hit of dopamine when you get the text or the call or whatever. Right. I could not agree more. I've done the same exact thing. I don't think I was as giving as you. But I did have moments where I would be like sending the messages and people would be like, oh, thanks, or just ignore it completely.
Yeah,
How do you ignore a nice text message?
I like people to feel good about themselves. I know what it feels like. Like, love is such an easier thing to spread than hate and anger and meanness. And everyone just needs a little love. Even the meanest people, I'd be like, well, they just need love. And then people are like, you're wasting your time. And it's like, okay, maybe pardon me, but like, I'm still going to try. Even
they need love more than anybody.
That's what I always think too.
But that comes with boundaries. You can send them love, but you don't have to. The person who's mistreated you your whole life, you don't have to go out of your way to take them to lunch and buy them cards and do all that stuff. You can send them love. And if you happen to see them, you can give them a kind word, but you don't have to go out of your way to put yourself in harm's way to an abuser. So you don't have to.
I only send love.
Yeah.
I don't send hate to these people that have done anything. I just am like, you're cut off from my power source that you are literally just trying to be plugged into, but there's nothing being reciprocated.
Right. It's a closed circuit. It's a closed circuit, as we say in physics.
So I'm just going to close the circuit altogether.
Right.
And then
I'm a circuit chopper. Gina said, and I want to address this comment because it's really important. I'm an over-explainer. I try to control it the best I can. Myself and my sister and Jen and so many people I know who come from families where they weren't heard,
felt, or seen. You want to explain over and over and over again, and you're doing it for yourself, is the reason that you're doing it, even though the other person is not hearing you. It still is an important process to find yourself explaining for your own self until you realize that you're actually making yourself crazy by explaining yourself.
Yes, because they are not going to hear you and they are committed to misunderstanding you. And Gina, let me tell you a little personal story.
I'm going to tell you a story, Gina. Okay. You ready, girl?
It's quick. Go. I have been this way for so long that I find myself narrating the simplest thing I'm doing. And I'll come in the kitchen. My husband will be standing there. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take this package. I'm going to put it here. And then I'm going to take this pen and I'm going to put it here because it needs to be there because of I'm narrating my life because I'm over explaining why I'm moving something from one side of the counter to the other. My husband doesn't care where I put the package or the pen. Well, he has a little OCD, but that's how I do it. But I've had that same struggle my whole life because everyone who was supposed to love me was committed to misunderstanding me. And I know I've repeated that many times, but it is so common because everyone has their own judgment of what you are supposed to be. And Aunt Jen addressed that earlier. Everyone, she was in this bubble, this prison of what everybody was telling her to be, which we've all been in it. Everybody. And I know we kind of went off the rails with our subject, but it's okay. What we're saying,
it's staying in the, and I would say, like, be kind to yourself as you're learning with regards to over explaining yourself. Like, actually seeing that as something that you're doing is a huge step, and remembering that it's going to be a process of like getting yourself out of that. Because I mean, I know it's taken me a long time and I still find myself, but I have to say that it's only certain individuals that I would be finding myself explaining myself, over explaining myself. And then as they've been removed, I've noticed that I don't really need to explain myself. Like, I don't know if I've ever really explained myself to you. Like, Nicole, like, it's like, I don't really, like, not to the level of like, you're not understanding what I'm saying when I'm telling you something, of like, that's not what I'm saying. Like,
right.
It's never been in that kind of a thing. So it's usually, it's the audience. And so you get to just kind of see that as you're learning to pull back your energy and finding out. And then some of those things is the explaining gets to be turned into a boundary.
Exactly. And Vivian said to Gina, some folks just won't get it in this lifetime.
They're not, some people are not supposed to.
Explain.
That was a real hard one for me to accept, was really realizing that there are a lot of people that I've known in this lifetime that it is not they're not supposed to, like, they're supposed to come back and do other lives and do, they're not supposed to like go through whatever I've been, or what, even a version of it or a part of it. But yet anyone that does, I get really, really excited that they're like, that they're there in that place. And that's a hard one to learn, is that is over explaining is a trauma response. Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. And as you heal your trauma, that will shift. Whereas a lot of people try and change something, even addictions can be drawn to trauma, and people want to make themselves stop their addiction and like focus on the addiction or whatever's happening, when they're not focusing on the trauma that got them to the addiction. Right. So it always stems from working on your trauma.
Yes. Everything
on your trauma, healing your trauma. As you heal your individual trauma, like I've said this before and it's really harsh, but anything that I say, I've had to say it to myself and accept it. The people that hurt us, they hurt us, but it's your job to heal from it. Period. Yeah. End of story. And yes, if you choose to. And so I'm so glad that you said that, Gina, because everything that I've done and become and continue to do is from healing my trauma, period. Yes. That's why I do the tools. That's why, like, everything. And I'm continuing to still do that. But everything goes back to the trauma, to the nervous system, to like, I mean, it all does. So when we want to try and like tell ourselves and be something different, and then we end up failing and being like, oh, look, I did it again. It's because you're not focusing on the trauma. You're focusing outside of yourself on either the addiction or the over-explaining. I'm over-explaining. I'm just going to stop over-explaining. No, girl, go and help heal your trauma, and the over-explaining will work itself out. Trust me. I mean, at least that's my path I've learned on my own.
I agree completely. And again, I'll quote my favorite author, Eckhart Tolle, who said something like, dealing with addiction, I think was the example you used. Addiction is a failure to face and move through your pain. Now, I know a lot of addicts in recovery and not in recovery, and it is a failure to face and move through your pain. And I honestly believe that if every addict did deep trauma work, they could move out of their addiction. But I don't have an addiction to substances like that I'm aware of. I don't use any substances. I don't drink. I don't smoke anymore. I used to smoke cigarettes. But I believe that. Now, I don't have the background in personal addiction to understand it. So any addict who's listening, feel free to chime in. But I think if everyone dug deep and got all that stuff out, the addiction, as Aunt Jen says, would shift.
I've known that for myself. So, I mean, I'm living it. So it's not an easy kind of a thing to do. And I just have, that's my process and my path that I've gone on. And I have major evidence to prove that to my own personal self, for me, of working, that everything has shifted as I continue to heal my trauma.
Right. And if everyone in our society that is so chaotic right now would deal with their trauma, the fundamental problem in the world is dysfunction and chaos and trauma. That's the problem. Now, again, not everybody is meant to heal in this lifetime. Okay. We all are on a different path. Do your best to heal yourself and hope that that spreads to others. And thank you, Aunt Jen. I love you so much. Thank you, everyone who's watching. And Vivian or Lucille said, "What's up? Only 12 watching, only 1 like." People watch the replays a lot. And if it's only 12 people, then that's 12 people who stayed and listened. And we appreciate those 12 people and anybody else who watched the replay.
And I would say, like, in closing, from what we were talking about, the truth within the chaos is, it's the same thing. Find the truth in your chaos. And just like all the chaos that's going in the world, the truth is coming forward. So continuing to find your own truth within yourself, of what that truth may be, that can also shift, doesn't always stay the same, amongst your chaos within yourself. Be kind, be gentle, be compassionate towards you, because nobody else is going to do that to start off with. It gets
100%.
to you. And with that, that's what we would say for today.
And use boundaries and discernment. Don't forget that. Love you, everybody.
Practice your muscles of discernment and boundaries, because it takes practice.
Yes. And don't be too hard on yourself if you make a mistake.
Yeah, be kind to rewind.
That's right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.